Hi, Dr. Lauren Kosinski here, and this is January 28th, and it's day one of a 30-day make a video a day challenge that I accepted from a group of entrepreneurs that I work with. So this group meets about once a month. They're mostly interested in online education, but not exclusively, and it's a really creative and interesting group of people, and we problem solve together. So I had brought a problem to the group that I had because I send an email newsletter out about once a month to several thousand physicians. And I can see, because I get some metrics back on these, what the open rates are for the emails and what links get clicked, which things are interesting to people. It just gives me a little way of seeing what do people want to hear, and is this reaching anybody? And what I can see is that I actually get very high open rates and click-through rates. But in the last couple of months, I've proposed some week-long intensives, small group intensives at various places, interesting places in the world, and on kind of different and compelling topics or themes in what I consider to be the missing curriculum for doctors. And one of the links that got clicked quite a lot, maybe 6,000 times, was get more information, schedule a talk with me, and yet no one did. Now, maybe that's me. Could be. Maybe there's something that's not so great or compelling about me. But beyond that, there's this idea that people get to a threshold where they're saying, well, maybe I would like to know something more about this. Maybe I'm curious about it. And then they pull back. So why is that? Well, the thought about doing these videos was to tell you some more about myself. So I want to tell you about my journey, how I got from being a subspecialty academic surgeon to the place where I'm sitting now today in Switzerland, doing things like making this video with my German Shepherd on the floor. And a lot of this doesn't look at all like what I thought when I started out. Yeah, but I'll unfold that story because I think some of this hesitation, once we get to the threshold of saying, well, could this be different? And stepping through, can be answered some by hearing about what I found along the way. So I'm going to preface this by saying that it is not my intention or interest to have anybody do exactly what I've done, because this is a journey that's been defined. A lot of the decision points and things have been very particular things in my life. Some of it's menopause. Some of it is a relationship that I was in. Some of it is in relationships that had failed. Some of it had to do with a particular dynamic with me and my section chief that led to an impasse and a rupture. So there are a lot of pieces like this that shape where I've come that aren't going to be the same for anybody else. But the one thing that I think is important is that there was a kind of accompaniment, a sort of understanding that I wanted, and the ability to have conversation and to weigh different things with people that I didn't have, because people outside of medicine, I had to spend so much time trying to explain what the consequences were of some of the decisions I was entertaining that it was not timely or helpful. And for people inside of medicine, there's a lot of resistance to taking these things on. I mean, some of my best friends who agreed with me about some of what I was critical of and concerned about were like, it's never going to change, Lauren, just get over it. And I didn't find it possible to just get over it. I wasn't really interested in just getting over it. I was really interested in trying to contribute to making a way to practice surgery through which I thrived because of how I was doing it, not despite it. So my goal was to find ways to structure practicing that engendered my well-being in the same ways that I intend to support the well-being of my patients, rather than being a sense of things flowing in one direction, like depleting one part of the equation to solve the other. That just never made sense to me. So in any case, I think that there's a place to be able to make change that doesn't look exactly like mine, but it takes some encouragement. It takes a little courage to step across the threshold and say, what could be different? And who's better poised to do this? Because in a certain way, the whole point for me about being in medicine was to understand more about the human condition, both physically and psychically, and how those two things relate, and to express cultural values. That's how we find our sense of purpose and meaning and work every day. I mean, it's really a gift to have the opportunity to do that. And yet, at the same time, there's a way that some stuff isn't working, and that we must know that when we don't have the solutions within our purview, within what we already know, we have to go to places that we don't know. We have to step into mystery in order to find that answer. And that is scary as shit. It just is. The stakes are high in medicine. If you step off the path, we know people who've lost everything as a consequence of that. It's already a lot of work to be a doctor. Why make it more complicated if you don't have to? I mean, there are lots of reasons why it's difficult to step into the mystery. And yet, depending on where you are, there's a desire for some relief. There's a desire for a better way. We're kind of built for it. So my question for you at the end of the first video is to think about the ways in which your practice doesn't look like what you imagined when you stepped onto the path. How your practice doesn't look like what you imagined when you stepped on the path. And I'll see you in tomorrow's video.